Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of rSlash entitled Parents. In today's episode, my dad thought that I was faking a paralyzation. Karen claims our massive Rottweilers chased her kid down and attacked him. Time for a vision check. Karen. Entitled Aunt demanded my mother to take her to the supermarket at 6 o'clock at night. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. My dad thought that I was faking a paralyzation. Before you read this story about my dad, I want to say that my dad is not too entitled, but I want to mention that this is one story which I feel like I should share, but also felt that he was entitled at that moment. I love my dad and really hope that you enjoy my story. Let me give you some backstory about myself. Mom, my sister, and I were born with the medical condition called hypokalemic periodic paralysis. It's a pretty rare condition, as I've only heard like 1,000 people had it, and this is what it does. So it basically causes your muscles to cramp up when your potassium goes low, and if your potassium goes too low, you can get paralyzed to the point where you can't move, and this can result to death if gone too low. Fortunately, it hasn't gone to there, but the way it triggers to me is my anxiety and being dehydrated. I'm the second family member to have the worst of it, but let me get on to the second part of the backstory. So in 2016, I had never met my dad before, and I wanted to meet him, as I brought it up to my mom, and after a couple of months, he came and seen me on October 2016. This isn't relevant, but I just felt that I needed to explain that. Anyway, on to the story. Since this was an event that happened almost 4 years ago, so details may be fuzzy. So it was July of 2017, and my dad had stayed a week with me, and one thing that my mom asked me before my dad came is if I wanted to spend some time with my dad or sleep over at my mom's house. I decided to sleep at Dad's hotel since I really wanted to get much more of an experience with my dad. This may be important later. The first couple nights were good at first, as my dad decided to take me to the beach, and I played in the hotel pool for a while, but this is where stuff started to go downhill. On the last night, my dad was supposed to be leaving to go to the airport in a couple of hours. It was 4 a.m. and I woke up, feeling my legs were a bit stiff, assuming that I was just sore, and it would get better by the time that I wake up again. Dad asked me what's wrong, and I told him that I just need to walk it off, and he told me just to be careful. I walked around my bed for a few minutes, then headed back to bed. Fast forward to 7 a.m., my dad and his girlfriend are packing their suitcases, as they wanted to get to the airport and drop me off, but as I wake up, everything was fine at first. Until I decided to try to move. I was stuck on the bed, could not move my arms or legs or even going as far as my neck. I was starting to cry and my dad thought that I was faking a paralyzation. Unfortunately, I don't know how the conversation goes since I said the details were fuzzy, but I do remember that my dad brought me in the bathroom, constantly saying try to stand up, and I couldn't. I also remember that I constantly told my dad to call my mom, but it only resulted to him saying no and refusing. At the time and still today, I'm still set off that my dad didn't decide to try to call my mom. I'm going to skip a bit forward ahead since the details between the bathroom and when we were leaving are very fuzzy, so let's just fast forward to there. When my dad was leaving with his girlfriend, I was on the bed, and they got me dressed, as he was going to try to carry me out, but I didn't know he was going to do that. But there was one thing that my dad said which almost ended my relationship with my dad. If you fall off of my back, then I will leave you behind. And he actually said that. Those words make me the most mad at my dad, and I hate him for that. He soon got me on his shoulder and carried me to the car, as he put me in the back seat and started driving home. I think my dad called my mom to let her know that I was getting dropped off, and I was facing a problem. When I got home, I was in bed and drinking orange juice, thanks to my mom holding the glass with the straw. After that, my dad left. After he left, I didn't talk to him for 2 months, and I refused to. Words they said to me were the most infuriating thing that I could hear from my own dad, and all I wanted to do at that moment is yell at him, constantly telling him how he could say that to his own child. Him and I do have a fair relationship though, but I still am mad about that event. My dad isn't fully entitled, but this is the one time where I felt he was being entitled, on purpose. Karen claims our massive Rottweilers chased her kid down and attacked him. Time for a vision check. Karen. Cast, me/dragon_crystal equals myself, Molly equals my younger sister, usually entitled not this story, Kirito equals my younger brother, not really involved, Vivi equals my youngest brother, also not really involved, EK equals Karen's 4 to 5 year old hobgoblin, Guy and Lady equals the couple that owns the Rottweilers, Frisbee equals our cutie Yorkie, and Officer equals cop that was patrolling the area. Note, we don't own Rottweilers, we have a tiny Yorkie. Karen, get your eyes check. Also, this was years and years before the pandemic started. It was a warm sunny day, so we had taken Frisbee for a walk at a local park not too far from our house. As we were finishing our walk and about to take a short break at the playground before heading home, we walked by a couple also walking their dogs, two very big but extremely friendly Rottweilers. Lady complains that Frisbee's very cute, and we go our own ways. So we're just relaxing at the playground now. Me, Kirito and Vivi are sitting at the bench nearby as Molly is playing chase with Frisbee at the playground, when we notice a mother, Karen, and her kid, EK, walking at a distance. Luckily either of them notice Frisbee or this story would have turned into those Karen tries to steal our dog stories. EK is screaming, running around throwing things, and making a lot of noise. We just ignore him since he's not bothering us and not hurting Frisbee. After a few minutes we see him disappear down the trail where we had seen Guy and Lady went with their Rottweilers, so we decided, hey, maybe it's time we head home in case our parents start worrying about why we're taking so long. We hear a loud scream followed by some barking from the direction of the trail. We see EK is now running, crying, and has some scrap marks on his arms, legs and face to Karen. Karen, who wasn't paying attention up till that point, is asking EK what happened, and we hear their dogs chased me and knocked me over. The first thing Karen does is look in our direction and storms over screaming, "How dare you send your dogs after my son?" Me, ma'am, we didn't do that, our dog's been on her leash the whole time and your son was over dash. Karen, don't lie to me, my son just told me, your Rottweilers chased him and knocked him over. Me, what Rottweilers? We don't own Rottweilers, we only have a Yorkie dash. Karen, I saw your Rottweilers when we got here, that's why I warned my son to stay away from you. Where are you hiding them? I'll make sure they get put down for attacking my son. Me, ma'am, I'm trying to explain that we don't have Rottweilers, but you're not listening to me. Karen spots a police patrol car driving by and waves him down. He gets out of his car to investigate what's happening, while EK is still crying off to the side. Officer, what's going on over here and why is this child crying? Karen, these brats sent their aggressive Rottweilers after my son and knocked him over. I had to throw myself in the dog's path just to save my baby's life or he would have been killed, and all he asked was to pet them. We all look at Karen dumbfounded cause not once did EK even notice Frisbee nor did he come in our general direction. Luckily by now Molly had walked over carrying our aggressive Yorkie Frisbee over. The officer stared at Frisbee for a minute before asking, where are these supposed Rottweilers that you sent after her son? Me, we don't own Rottweilers, our dog is that one, points to Frisbee, and she's a Yorkie dash. Karen, don't listen to them. They're hiding their Rottweilers around the corner at that trail behind them, pointing at where EK was at. Right then Guy and Lady kinda come sprinting out of breath down the trail and officer calls them over. Karen immediately starts backing away screaming, that's the aggressive beasts that attacked my baby. Officer, to Karen, ma'am please calm down and allow me to figure out what happened. Turns to Guy and Lady, excuse me, are you the parents of these kids? Guy, no we aren't. We just happened to see them as we were taking our boys for a walk. Officer, so they're not your kids, I'm assuming by boys you own these dogs. Turns to us, and you kids were also just taking your dog for a walk? Couple and us, yes. Karen, they're lying to make it look like they don't own the beasts. Officer gives her another warning look, which silences her, before turning back to us. Where were you when her son supposedly got chased and attacked? Me, we were at the playground and EK was running around by the trail. Before he disappeared down the trail and out of sight, we were planning on heading home when we heard him screaming and running back out. Lady, he was screaming because he had saw us, started throwing sticks and rocks at our boys, causing them to get defensive and barked at him. Where he got startled, turned and tripped before running back here. I ran over to make sure he wasn't hurt, but our dogs were too startled, and I had to help calm them down, before we arrived. Officer, okay, thank you, please wait here. Turns back to Karen, so ma'am dash. Karen, are you going to have their beasts get put down for attacking my baby? Officer, not until I ask you a few questions. Karen, but my baby was attacked, why am I being questioned? Officer, because from what you claimed of the dogs attacking your son doesn't add up to what they just told me. Karen, that's because they're lying so their beasts don't get put down. Look at my baby's arms, legs and face, that's all bite marks from their beasts attacking him. Officer, ma'am, those are scrap marks from him tripping. I can tell the difference between bite marks and scrape marks. Now tell me where you were when your son supposedly got attacked. Karen points to the furthest part of the park. I was enjoying the shady over there. Officer, confused, then why was EK over on the trail unsupervised and not with you? Karen, well, I didn't know they had brought their beasts with them, otherwise I'd tell him not go over there. Officer, I thought you said he wanted to pet their dog before they sent their dog to attack him, and you jumped in their path to protect him. Karen, yeah, but that was after he had ran away from them, and the dogs followed him to where I was at. Basically, Karen was trying to say that EK had managed to run to her for protection, and she scared the Rottweilers back to Guy and Lady, while still claiming that we own the Rottweilers. The officer clearly wasn't convinced, and allowed us to leave while making sure Karen and EK didn't try to follow us. We never saw either Karen or her hobgoblin again afterwards. We did thank the officer the next time we bumped into him while taking Frisbee for a walk, and occasionally Guy and Lady. Entitled aunt demanded my mother to take her to the supermarket at 6 o'clock at night. So my entitled aunt is back at it again. A couple of weeks ago her car was in the shop because surprise, surprise, the 15-plus-year-old 100,000+ mile SUV she bought less than 5 years ago had been having major issues. So at around 5:45 p.m. she called my mother on the phone and was like, "Hi OP's mom, I need you to take me to the supermarket. I need to do my food shopping." My mother, who had just started to make dinner with my brother, and I responded, "Do you have to go right now?" My aunt said, "Yes, I need to go right now." My mother then said, "I just started making dinner." To which my aunt responded with, "Well, just make something quick so you can take me. Call me when you're done." Then hung up. My brother and I immediately turned to my mother and pretty much said, "Don't do it." At the same time, my brother said, "Mom, we've seen how she walks through the supermarket. It takes her like 2 hours to get maybe 10 to 15 items." My brother and I both work for the supermarket my aunt shops at. And I piped in with, "You do realize if you do this for her, she'll start expecting you to bend over backwards for her, right? She'll never leave you alone." My mother sighed and said, "But she doesn't have a car right now. I feel bad." And I said, "Don't, you're not obligated to help her. But if you do this for her, she's going to expect you to do things for her going forwards." So about half-hour later, just as we're sitting down to eat, my aunt calls again, greeting my mother with a "What's taking you so long to make dinner? I need to go to the market right now." My mother responds with, "I just sat down to eat dinner." My aunt responds with, "Can't you eat when you get back from taking me to the market?" My mother tells her, "Look, I worked an 8-hour day and didn't have time to eat lunch. My husband is working at the market now, why don't you text him the things you need? My father works for the same supermarket my brother and I work at, albeit in a different department." But my aunt said, "I can't wait until he gets off from work, I need to go now." And when you take me, I need you to drop me off right at the door. My sciatica is really bothering me today. Call me when you leave." And hung up. My mom finished her dinner, and then grabbed her coat and keys and again my brother, and I immediately started to dissuade my mother from bringing my aunt to the market. My brother said, "Don't do it, seriously, you'll be there for 2 hours." And I reiterated, "She will never leave you alone after this. You do this for her, she'll see it as oh goody, another person to do my bidding type thing." And my mom finally relented and texted my aunt saying, "Look, I'm too tired to take you to the market, but if you text me what you need I'll pick it up for you." That was at 6:30 p.m. 2 hours later my aunt finally texts my mother back with, "Fine, I need milk, eggs, 12 cans of cat food, 2 packs of menthol cigarettes and $60 so I can do takeout. I'll pay you back." And my mother lost it. Thinking she was texting my father, she accidentally sent my aunt, "Is your sister out of her mind? I'm not going to buy her cigarettes or give her $60 of my hard-earned money so she can do God knows what with it." My aunt responded, "I can't believe my brother married such a spoiled witch," not the actual word she used. I couldn't hear the entire phone conversation my father had with his sister when he got home from work, but it ended with my father screaming, "I better not hear you talk about my wife like that again or I'll never do anything for you again. I don't care if we're siblings. From now on, don't ask my wife or kids to do anything for you. You don't deserve their help, I don't care if they're family." Apparently my aunt had told my father something along the lines of, "You need to tell that spoiled witch of a wife to do what I tell her to do because we're family," and my dad wasn't having it.